Today we have Mr. Mudit Saxena with us. He's from UAE. Yeah, Muditji, your introduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, I've been a C-suite leader. I worked in about 5 countries for the last 3 decades. And what I've done is basically, besides, all of us work for a living, but one of my passions is mindfulness. And I've tried to actually incorporate that in my work and work life as well as my personal life. And I think that's made a big difference, in my life. So I'm really on a mission to transform 1 million people to adopt mindfulness, and that's a little bit
Wow.
about me.
That's a great mission. In fact, 1 million people is a large number because I'm on a mission to help 6 million people, and I know how large, how big is that mission. I can understand it's a huge mission that you are on. Thank you so much. Now, I would love to know from each one of you, what is the definition of stress according to you? What gives you stress? That's more important. What gives you stress? If you could share with us what gives you stress. Meanwhile, I would love to tell you what gives me stress, Mudit. Most of the targets that we set for ourselves, when they are underachieved, it gives me little stress. And the way I think that things should be done, in the professional world, and if these are not done, that gives me little anxiety sometimes. And situations tend to give us all the stress. This could be the temporary stress, but they do give us the stress. So what gives you stress, Mudit?
Okay, what gives me stress? I think I give more people stress because I'm not stressed generally in life.
Okay.
So, no, it's
Interesting. Yeah.
basically, because I've been in this journey, and I can I can empathize with what you've been saying, right? Because the world teaches us to achieve, the world teaches us to go outward, right? When things are not, like as Richard says, when things are not going as per my plans. But
Yeah.
that's your intention, right?
Yeah.
Now, when we don't want to, if you look at and understand stress, typically, it's really your psychological and your physical response to a situation that you think you cannot control. Okay, that's as close as you can get to a medical definition. So if you were to listen and see everybody's reasons, the reasons are all different, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's spouse gives you stress, somebody's boss gives you stress, somebody's, not being able to go out during Corona gives you stress. So absolutely, like Potiphar said, perfectionism, right? So where is it? Is stress outside or inside?
Yeah.
Stress is within you,
Yeah.
right? And if
Yeah.
it's a psychological response, then you've got to understand that it's basically depends on your ability to
Yeah.
deal with the external world, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, some of it can be genetic. Some
Yeah.
of us tend to be a little more hyper than others. But the
Yeah.
good thing is that learning to deal with stress is a learned response. So if you
Mm-hmm.
start changing your perception to the world outside, then your
Mm-hmm.
ability to be stressed will be, we can change significantly. So those
Absolutely.
people who react strongly, who have strong likes and dislikes, I
Yeah.
like this country, I don't like that country. I like this religion, I don't like that religion. I like this cricketer, I don't like that cricketer. I like this singer, I don't. If you're very strong, then
Yeah.
your chances of actually being tossed about on the sea of life is much higher.
Yeah. True.
But in the definition, if with mindfulness, it's not just about meditation or whatever. It's an
Mm-hmm.
attitude change. When
Mm-hmm.
you start looking at life as, the fact that you are part of the interconnected universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the
Yeah.
environment is a part of you, the people around you are a part of you, your family is a part of you, the world is a part of you. You
Yeah.
then tend to take a much larger and a more distinct view of life rather than
Yeah.
being very, very inward focused, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
let's talk
Mudit,
about, yeah.
yeah, so let's read some of the comments that have come and then we'll continue the discussion. The Shen says, stress is nil if you live in present without prejudice. So absolutely, it's very, very important, Dushyant. I agree. However, at the same time, I personally feel that practically speaking, sometimes it becomes challenging to live in present without prejudice. I think Mudit will agree with me. Let's read some more. So Hassan says, stress is always available and it's pushing you forward. And sometimes stress makes you more responsible person. Stress sometimes is a positive sign. Absolutely bang on. Strongly agree with you. Meanwhile, Swapnil says that good afternoon, Swapnil. How have you been? And I had received your profile also. We'll talk about it in the DM. And then we have already read about Hassan's. Abhishek says, let me read Abhishek's comment. Not having much control over particular situation in personal and professional life gives him the stress. Yeah, that's the story with each one of us most of the time. And Mudit also rightly said that, it's when we do not have control over situations, we tend to feel the stress. Meanwhile, Manoj Gulati from Gurgaon, look forward to learn more on mindfulness. Definitely, Manojji, we are going to do a live session with Muditji today. And then what Potiphar says, what gives me stress sometimes is my perfection. Absolutely, absolutely. And then Charles says, what is the show about? So, Charles, today we are going to learn how to do mindfulness. In the description, you've already read that, I have highlighted 8 celebrities and top executives of the corporate world wherein they practice their meditation. So, today we are going to learn how to do one session of mindfulness. This will give you insights as to how Mudit has been doing for over the years and what are the instant benefits you can immediately start getting. Shidush has written, in my opinion, stress is the human tendency of panicking and lamenting over unprecedented circumstances, thus distracting us from actually solving the problem at hand. Do you really think, Mudit, this could be the definition of stress and we could well accept this kind of a definition? Yeah, Mudit, on to you.
Okay. Actually, if you look at all the comments, right, there was a
Yeah,
comment also that stress is good, right?
yeah,
So there's
yeah,
actually two kinds of stress.
yeah,
Okay. One is called good stress, and that's
yeah.
very well known as eustress, EU
All
stress. You
right.
can Google that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really there's this concept of flow.
Mm-hmm.
And the definition of flow is when, let's say, your challenge meets your skill level.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, if you're a very, very good cricket player or a tennis player or a soccer player, and you have somebody who's, or you have an opponent who's not so good, that's not
Mm-hmm.
going to really challenge you, right?
Yeah.
But when you have something, because your skill is higher than the challenge,
Yeah.
okay? But when your skill, let's say, for example, you're really challenged and you have good skill, when your skill meets challenge and they're at a similar level, then you don't feel stress at all. But to push you to that level, you need a certain amount of stress. So, that ability to get driven from inaction to a certain level of action is good. And that's what good stress is about. But
Yeah.
it's okay till it's a challenge you can handle. And then what begins
Absolutely.
to happen is that challenge psychologically, because it's everybody's individual perception, right?
Yeah.
So my perception of what I cannot deal with is very different from somebody else's.
Yeah.
A musician biggest challenge is how to do maths,
Yeah.
right? But a software engineer or a geek, tell him to play music, it's going to be very, very stressful, right?
Absolutely.
So for those
Absolutely.
people who are comfortable speaking in public, it's not a stress. But for those who just, and that's considered one of the biggest fears in this world, is that, when somebody asks you to speak on stage or something, and a lot of people can't handle it. So stress varies because it's your individual psychological response. So
Absolutely.
how you
Absolutely.
deal with it, right,
Yeah.
makes a big
How?
difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
your own
So,
ability to deal.
yeah, one of the ways of dealing with stress, as you've in the previous conversations you have rightly pointed out, is the practice of mindfulness. So I would love to know everyone's viewpoint. What's your take on what is mindfulness? Meanwhile, I have picked up some definition from Wikipedia which says that, mindfulness is the practice of purposely bringing one's attention to experiences occurring in the present moment without judgment. So there are 3 keywords which I have picked up from this. One is bringing one's attention. Second is to the experiences occurring in the present moment. And third is without judgment. Now, I would love to know through you, Mudit, because you have been experiencing mindfulness for quite some time. How did your journey start? And does that definition of yours fit into this one?
Yes. So, this is a very good textbook definition, is what I was sharing with the audience a little. So it's right, right? So let's say, for example, if you go out for a walk and you've got your phone, right, and you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly answering messages, right, you're going to miss the trees, you're going to miss the sound of the birds, you're going to miss, everything that nature has to offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what have you done? All of us as individuals, we are born with awareness. Fundamentally, we're all very, very aware. When you're a baby, you smile at a baby, the baby will smile back, right? Because it's aware at that time. But we tend to lose that focus because we tend to go very outward in life, right? So the world teaches you that it's better to be, today, if you were to look at it, you've got your whole day planned, right? I've got to
Yeah.
do this in the morning, I've got to do this in the afternoon, this in the evening, whatever. So we've all
Mm-hmm.
gotten this habit of doing,
Mm-hmm.
but we're supposed to be human beings. Today we've become human doing because we're constantly trying to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this awareness is there with us actually, but because we've distracted ourselves, we're not fully, this awareness is not there with us, which is why now we have a definition which says, I have to practice with a purpose, right? I have to make an attempt to become more mindful. Why? So I have to make an attempt to do that. And the thing is that even when you do make an attempt, right, you are focused on a situation and the situation may not go the way you want it. So if you pass a judgment, right? So those of us who are in the subcontinent, well, if you're supporting your favorite team playing whatever sport, if it's not going, according to you, you won't like it.
Yeah.
But a mindfulness approach is being non-judgmental, which says, okay, the situation is happening. I may or may not like it,
Mm-hmm.
but I still have a choice in the way I want to respond, right? So
True.
those people who are very, very high strung, typical A category, A type of people, right? They want things their way. So it's like we said, right? All of us want success, money, home, car, whether you have the ability or not, that's a separate issue. But we want everything too fast, too soon. When you don't get it, then you people get stressed, they get disappointed, they get whatever.
Absolutely.
So moving away from trying to control situations and accepting, you do your best, and then
Mm-hmm.
whatever the outcome is, your
Mm-hmm.
ability to accept it non-judgmentally, neither right nor wrong, and go ahead and make your own choices that are best and more appropriate. But we don't do that.
Abs- Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really the critical point from
Yeah.
explaining it from a point of view of a textbook.
Yeah. So I'll come to it. I'll come to it. You have rightly mentioned that, what's usually mentioned in the textbooks is we usually don't do it. And then I also figure out that we have to find out our own definitions that work for us, and we have to define our own path. So meanwhile, Alok Verma says, when we eat our food, how many times do we think about how this food was harvested, grown, plucked, cooked? If we can do that, it's mindfulness in eating. So, look, we all have different perspectives. So, what Alok Verma has experienced in his life, he is mentioning, and what you have experienced in your life, you're mentioning, though we may agree, we may not. However, this is the beauty of life. All right. Now, Arijit says mindfulness is about being fully aware of oneself, being live to each and every moment. Whereas, Mudit, I strongly feel that it's absolutely impossible to live in mindfulness state each and every moment. For normal human beings like us, you got to be really a saint or a sage in order to do that, and a lot of practice goes into it. But yeah, by definition, it is an acceptable definition, and we got to do it ultimately if we have to reach at that evolved stage. So Shidush says, to some people, stress acts as negative reinforcement and motivates them to accomplish their goals. I don't know how good that is for their mental health, though. Yeah, absolutely. You have made a very strong practical point, Shidush. because when we are happy, we can say that, yeah, stress is good, and it keeps you inspired and motivated. But when we ourselves are truly stressed out or in depression, we feel like stress is the worst thing that has happened to us in life. Is it not? So that's what. Now let's proceed ahead. Another comment, Maheshwara Rao V says, thank you so much, Maheshwara, for being on this show. There is stress in everyone's life. Stress is essential to keep you pushing ahead. That's positive stress. There's also negative stress, and negative stress must be avoided. Absolutely. So, Mudit, like you were mentioning that this is one theoretical definition and practical aspect is different. Now, I would love to ask from you, what is mindfulness? You've already spoken. How is mindfulness related to leadership?
Okay, great. So, it's a great question because I believe we're all leaders. Whether you're at home, you're a parent, you're leading your child. You are a role model. Your people look up to you. When you're at work, people look up to you in your organization, right? So how you come through in real life is a function of how you are within. So
Mm-hmm.
we've all experienced bosses, those the kinds who just have a terrible temper, who are completely, totally demanding and just have no compassion at all, right? Now, the question is, how can you lead when you yourself are not in control? So
True.
leadership and mindfulness, I'll tell you, there are four things that come. Firstly,
Okay. Hmm.
the mind of a leader is what
Hmm.
impacts his behavior, right?
Okay. Hmm.
His behavior impacts the team that's around.
Hmm.
The way the team interacts with everybody is what develops culture in an organization.
Hmm.
And that culture is what decides whether the organization does well or not. Okay. So
Hmm.
if you have leaders who are disruptive, and I'll just say there are four critical things in leadership which are related to mindfulness.
Hmm.
The first thing is being self aware.
Hmm.
How aware are you of your own emotions? How aware of you of the things that you do well and the things that you don't do well? Okay.
Hmm.
How aware, so it's a lot about yourself, how the way you
Hmm.
behave, how do you interact with people. So there's a
Hmm.
whole science behind self-awareness.
Hmm.
The second part is self-leadership.
Hmm.
What is your purpose, right? Most of
Hmm.
us are unable to truly define what we're meant to do in this world because we're constantly following what
Hmm.
our parents thought or what the world was about, or what our
Hmm.
teacher said, or what society says.
Hmm.
Right? So you constantly keep following somebody else's dream, and then a lot of people get very disillusioned along the way. So around earlier on, it used to be the 40s. Now I can see it
Hmm.
happening, much earlier, when people
Hmm.
decide that they've gone a certain way in life, and then they're not happy because this is not who you are, right?
Hmm.
You're not following what you were meant to do. But to be able to truly focus in and figure out what your true calling is and not get distracted, that also requires a certain amount of mindfulness. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
self leadership. So if I was to, my first bucket was self awareness. The second bucket is self leadership.
Yeah.
When you have self awareness, then you're able to be, in sync with, let's say, for example, your team's awareness.
Hmm.
Your ability, when you have empathy and compassion, and you can then work in teams, because not everybody,
Hmm.
it's like five fingers in a hand, right? All the
Hmm.
fingers are different, but guess what, in a team, you need a successful team, right? You need great sales, you need great marketing, you need great product, you need great engineering, and you need you know somebody to manage the accounts. Everybody's different.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
when you work, especially internationally, in Dubai, I worked with over 220 nationalities.
Hmm.
Everybody's ability to speak English is not the same.
Yeah.
People come from a different cultural context. This is
Yeah.
the a lot of us are let's say people from the who are not good in English tend to think in their language first and then they translate.
Hmm.
So your ability to deal with people and
Hmm.
how your team functions is a function of how mindful you are. And
Hmm.
finally, it's the team leadership. What happens in the organization.
Hmm.
So an organization that is led by people who are not mindful of themselves, what their goals are, with dysfunctional teams, just cannot perform. Whereas organizations where people are mindful, their ability to deal with themselves. They're not out of control, which means they don't shout, scream, and create a completely destructive environment. Okay, your ability to be empathetic to the needs of your team members. Somebody's a little low that day. You don't know what's going on, right? Because people come to work for 8 hours or 10 hours, but they also have personal lives. How do you
True.
relate to your team, right? How do you build that team spirit? In any game, you'll see, whether it's cricket or soccer or anything else, you may have stars, but guess what? Some days they don't perform. Somebody else performs. So how do you carry everybody? And unless you're, in sync with, firstly, yourself, manage yourself in a certain manner, and your ability to work in team, you can't have any successful team. And when teams are not successful, uh, organizations or teams, larger entities just cannot function. And Google had done a study, where they had engineers from all over the world, and they said what makes teams really successful. And the single most important thing that came out was psychological safety. It came out before technical skills. It came out before your ability to take decisions. Because what happens is, unless people feel safe in an organization, right, and they feel that they're in an environment that actually supports them and helps them grow, people are going to start withholding information. They will not share. They will be present just exactly, and we've all seen that at work. There's some who just do the least amount that's required, and there's some others who get totally involved, right? So therefore, being able to build that safe environment, being able to be empathetic, all these things are a function of mindfulness. And that's why mindfulness is so linked with, the days of, let's say, for example, we live in different worlds. There was a time when Jack Welch was the iconic leader. He single-handedly took on GE and made it profitable. And it was, his way. But the world has changed, because today the internet has equalized most things, in the sense that everybody has access to information. Okay? So it's not that somebody is, at a higher level. Yes, experience may be higher. Somebody may have a few technical skills, but information is available to everybody.
True.
How you use that information, how you're able to deal with the people around you, how you're able to, work in teams, that's what makes organizations successful. If you thought, like when we were growing up, we thought our parents were kind of old-fashioned and, one generation away. Today, there is nothing your teenage kid knows or doesn't know that you know. And they know it a lot faster than you and I ever did, simply
Okay.
because it's available.
Yeah, Mudit. So, while you were talking, I was consistently thinking of those 8 celebrities, including the Jeff Weiner, and then, including Oprah Winfrey and others, that they have been doing some spiritual practice or other in their life for long. So I was thinking, is mindfulness related to finding a purpose? If it is, how is it related and how does it change? And then after that, I would also love to experience that along with you through a practice section. So please let us know, how is it related to finding a purpose? And if the audience has answers, I would love to know their views as well.
Okay. So like all practices, right?
Yeah.
They start somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, the West has popularized mindfulness today, and that's why the rest of the world is taking it. But mindfulness existed for thousands and thousands of centuries. Yeah, and it existed in the
Absolutely.
eastern part of the world. So there's nothing
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
All these practices of meditation, breath, all of that originally started so that human beings could evolve to a higher spiritual purpose. Okay, so that was the original conception. So let's say, for example, Buddhism apparently is attributed to popularizing this form of spiritual practice, which is mindfulness. But breath and thought and knowledge and meditation existed thousands of years. Buddha was probably around 600 AD or BC, right? But you have texts which go back 10,000 BC, which talk about all these things. So at those times, yes, it started off as a spiritual practice. But guess what? Managing breath and doing meditation actually helps you solve a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Because in your spiritual journey, first you need to be able to deal with the basics of life. You want to handle stress, you want to improve your health, you want to get some peace of mind, you want to, achieve a lot of other basic things before you can get onto the path where you say you've got to experience the world before you can say, okay, I'm beyond the world, right? And let me now go in for spiritual. So therefore, a lot of these practices today are being used in a way to help more common people. And those
Mm-hmm.
practices, which were originally, you see, most spiritual practice takes a lot of effort and practice. But today we are in this fast, 5 minute, 2 minute Maggie world, right? You want everything quick, you want it now. So these practices have actually got modified, the original practices. And now you have two sets of practices. One is, let's say, what I call a micro practice, which you can do in a minute or 30 seconds, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
micro. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have dedicated practices, which like it's like going to the gym, right? You go and you work out and you spend 30 minutes in a gym. You can spend
Mm-hmm.
15, 20 minutes doing a meditation. But
Mm-hmm.
some people don't have, that kind of time.
Mm-hmm.
So there are practices in mindfulness that you can do in 30 seconds, in a minute, and in 2 minutes. You know
Mm-hmm.
why? And let me share something. If let's say, for example, breath is used as one way to get more awareness. And guess what? You carry breath wherever you go, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that differentiates somebody who's alive and somebody who's dead is breath. So it's there with you all the time,
Yeah.
right? So you don't need anything else. You don't need a phone. You don't need an app. You don't need anything else to do this micro practice.
True.
If you close your eyes and
Mm-hmm.
just focus on your breath coming in and going out, that is going to help you start your awareness practice, because it's going to take away your awareness from the outside world and take it inward. Okay, so you're waiting for a meeting. You're driving, you're sitting at the back of your car and your driver is driving you to work. You have a 20, 30-minute drive. Close your eyes and just focus on your breath. Just watch it come in, watch it go out. Nothing else is required. That itself, 30 seconds or 1 minute of doing that, is what's going to help you become a lot more aware for that moment. And like everything,
Absolutely.
the more you practice, the better you get at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mudit. So, meanwhile, let's read some of the comments. Siddhika Jain says mindfulness meditation calms the wandering mind, at least to some extent, and we begin to experience greater clarity. Yes, Siddhika, I really hope that we can get more clarity around it today. And with the live session that we are going to have through Mudit, we'll be able to practice it and learn the nuances of it. Meanwhile, Maheshwara Rao says mindfulness is the state of mind which constantly keeps you guiding on doing what things at right times and thereby helping you keep negative stress at bay. Absolutely. Deepak Sharma ji, welcome to the show. I would love to read your comment. Deepak Sharma says mindfulness is byproduct of dhyana. Without yoga, one cannot do dhyana. Dhyan is supreme practice to connect self-energy with cosmic energy. These terms are selling terms to satisfy and selling the product of these things. Dhyan and yoga are not quick practices. Yeah, rightly mentioned, as Mudit has also shared that there are some micro practices which can be done quickly. For example, in the quick world, that's what Westerners have come up with, and there are some subtle yet need a lot more practice kind of things that can be done, and these are macro level things. Now let's read. I had got some interesting comments. Let me scroll up and read. So. Daltro Vieira says, Catherine C., I ended up watching this live today. Thank you so much, Daltro, for being here. Swapnil says, I feel to say that being mindfulness accompanied with appropriate action will determine the purpose. Absolutely, absolutely agreed with you. And meanwhile, Arup Bhattacharjee says, Vinesh Sharma, simple steps, simple process. So why not just try? The first step is usually the hardest. Absolutely, Arup, I agree with you. And I also remember your and my conversations that, towards the content marketing part, that first steps are initially harder and we all got to try that. So, meanwhile, Kirti Kumar Singh, let me wait. Kirti Kumar Singh has written, does meditation extend thought process? Is that so? Mudit, what's your take on it?
Okay. See, meditation is like, is a big, that's the original part, right? So mindfulness, there are over 112 different types of meditation, and this is all chronicled in the ancient texts.
Yeah.
Okay. Mindfulness is one of those types that you take, which is
Hmm.
focusing on the present, which is just, so you could have traditional practices. You could be visualizing something, you could be chanting something, you could be, there are, visualizing some higher purpose. And there are many, many types, right? So in mindfulness, it's about focusing on being present. Okay.
Yeah.
This is, you're not supposed to think of anything, you're not supposed to form an impression in your mind, you're not supposed to focus on an object, you're not supposed to focus on, so it's just about concentrating on the present. And what is the most visible form of being present is your breath, because it's always there with you, right? I mean, it's something that you're carrying along with you. So which is why this particular practice is, just to clarify some of the comments that are coming in, right? So meditation is your big subset, and mindfulness is one part of that subset. But mindfulness is really an outcome, right? So how do you become more present? You become more present by becoming a little less distracted with the universe, right? So if you're constantly, focused on objects and beings which are outside of you, you'll be less aware of what's happening within you. So basically, all I'm saying is people call it different things, but to me, mindfulness is an outcome. It's an outcome of a calm mind. It's an outcome of a mind that's knowledgeable, and an outcome of a mind that is stable. And all of us do different things, because I can tell you there are innumerable methods of meditation, and all these steps go to one common purpose. And originally, like I said, it was all conceived for your evolution as a human being. I forget I mean, that is, those are fundamental truths. But today it's very difficult, because we live in a different age. There's too much stimulation and there's too much happening outside, and our interest is, the people who conceived of meditation and all those things originally were at a different level of awareness. Today we are very externally focused, we're not internally focused, right? So how do you manage in this world? And mindfulness is one of those ways to manage in this modern world.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's read some of the comments that we have got. So Shashank Jaiswal, thank you so much for being here. Shashank is regularly coming on our show. So he says, stress can come many ways. We cannot control it, but how nicely we handle this, how to come out. That's where one temperament or skill of handling stress comes out. Absolutely. So I was just going through some of the previous comments, and Shraddha says, I used to sleep while performing yoga in early morning in my school days. I love my sleep, especially in the early morning. Thank you so much for sharing your view. And then Sharmili says, for dealing with stress, I used to do a mirror work and listen daily a 15-minute affirmation video in morning and before sleeping. Yeah, Sharmili, I've also practiced, affirmations for a long, really long time in the past. And Maheshwara Rao says effective meditation helps create mindfulness. Absolutely. So as Mudit has also pointed out from the Vigyan Bhairav, that there are 112 types of meditations, and then meditation of any kind will actually lead you to the state of blissfulness, and there are a number of things. And I'm not surprised if ultimately mindfulness, Mudit, comes out as one of those 112 meditations, though I myself have
Absolutely.
not practiced all those 112, but I've practiced some of them. So I'm not surprised if someone comes out and shares, yes, this is the meditation number so and so from Vigyan Bhairav. That's the mindfulness Western world has picked
Absolutely.
up. Yeah. And yeah, so Deepak Sharma is a very evolved personality spiritually, and I would love to read his comment. He says 112 kinds of dhyana practices are well defined in Vigyan Bhairav, and there are 112 breathing exercises accompanied with the 112 kinds of chitta sthiti. All stages depend on the person's inner level choose any one which you can practice. Yeah, and at the same time, it is also mentioned, Deepak ji, that you have to do practice of one of the meditations among 112 for some time. Give it some time, maybe give it some days, some weeks, some months, and then go to the another one to figure out which one suits you most. And then Sean Wonzo from US says, hi, hello, sisters and brothers. Thank you so much, Sean, for being there. Arijit says, mindfulness practice over time can enable us to let go and assist in our inner peace. Absolutely. Now let's come to practice of it. I would love to have a practice session, quick practice session if we can have, and
Yeah.
see how is it impacting our state of mind. So I want each one of you to observe your current state of mind. What state of mind are you in? What is the kind of level of stress? And once this session is over, let's share our comments. How did we all feel? Did it make a difference? So if it made difference, is it worthwhile to keep practicing mindfulness every single day, even if it is for small time? So let's figure out and let's follow his instructions. Yeah, on to you, Madhu.
Yeah. Before I do that, I'll just add one point, that you
Yeah,
mentioned. Instead
yeah,
of trying different meditations, right? It's like trying to dig for a well.
yeah.
If you dig for a well in 112 different places, you're just going to go 10 feet down. But if you
Interestingly
dig
put.
one well and you keep digging, that same amount of energy you would have spent, if you do that 112 times, the same amount, you will go, let's say, if you one effort is 10, 112 means you'll go much further now. And the
Yeah,
further you go down in a practice, the stronger your practice becomes, the stronger the result. So while
yeah.
variety may be good for food, when it comes to your own spiritual growth, follow something and do it well and do it often, because
Yeah,
an ounce
Madhu,
of practice is better than tomes of reading or discussing or whatever.
yeah, Narit, I strongly agree with you that it's better to adopt one single sitting posture for sadhana, one single, sadhana practice, and one single, thing to do. However, at the same time, before reaching to that one single practice or one single meditation, I personally believe it's also important that we actually see that variety for some time. At
Sure,
least we should
sure.
be aware that there are 112 meditations.
Yes,
These say
yes.
these. That book reading, I've got that thick book of Osho that talks
Mhm.
about those 112 meditations, and that has taken me years to not even reach half of that book. So every time
Absolutely.
one reads that one meditation, one feels like dwelling into it, practicing it, enjoying it, relishing it. And then, I agree with you, one is important, but before we actually reach out to one, it's always great idea to actually explore several and then finally zero down to one. I just thought I should
Sure.
share my perspective with you. Yeah, so
No, no,
let's start
absolutely.
practicing.
So,
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's do that. And
yeah,
I just like to invite everybody to gently close your eyes.
yeah.
And as you close your eyes, start focusing on your breath. What's the quality of your breath? Is the breath thick? Is the breath thin? Breathe in positivity, breathe out negativity. Breathe in good health, breathe out disease. Breathe in oxygen and breathe out anything that doesn't serve you. Breathe in positivity and let go of negativity. If there are thoughts that are coming, it's okay. Acknowledge them. But don't get carried away by them. Thoughts are natural. Don't get carried away by the emotion, the drama. Just say, hello, I know you're there. I'll come back to you. I'm meditating right now. And as you go deeper, imagine a beautiful white light which is entering your head. And it's a healing light. That light has come to heal you. And now that light is healing your brain. And every single part of your brain is now getting healed. The neurons are connecting, they're becoming healthy. All traces of Alzheimer's, dyslexia, memory loss, everything is getting removed and your brain is becoming completely healthy. And your brain is glowing. Now thank your brain from the bottom of your heart. Thank it for working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, without asking you for a weekend, for a holiday, for a break. Thank your brain for giving you all the energy and making sure everything works okay in your body. And now imagine that white light moving further down, and it begins to heal your eyes. And your lens and your retina, everything is becoming perfectly fine. Your eyes that get stressed from watching too much of blue screen, computer, mobile is now all relaxed. And now your eyes are so full of life, energized. Thank your eyes for helping you see the beautiful colors in this world. Thank your eyes that allow you to see the mountains and the waterfall and your family, all the love around you. And now that white light goes towards your ears and begins to heal your ears. The eardrums are now fine. The cochlea is fine. The inside and outside pressure is fine. And your ears are completely healed. Thank your ears for allowing you to hear this beautiful music, for allowing you to hear the beautiful voices of your family and friends. Thank you, ears. Now imagine that white light going to your nose. And now your nose is getting completely healed. Thank your nose for helping you breathe in oxygen that gives you life. And now there's no disease, no virus in your nose. And that white light comes down to your mouth and now begins to heal your entire mouth. And thank your tongue and mouth for allowing you to taste the most beautiful food, the fruits. And now your face is completely healed, and allow that white light to heal your neck. All the stress that accumulates around the neck is released, and your head is able to stand strong. And as you move now down, the white light is healing your shoulders and releasing it of all the stress. Everything is gone. Thank your shoulders for carrying your entire upper part. And that white light now moves towards your lungs and is healing your lungs. Every part is being repaired. Every bronchiole is working fine. Every alveoli is working fine. And thank your lungs for sharing that oxygen in that blood, taking in the carbon dioxide and sending out all the waste, absorbing all the oxygen. Now your heart is being healed by the white light. And all the arteries are clean, all the veins are clean, the ventricles are cleaned, and the aorta is pumping blood. Thank your heart for working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's the seat of your emotion. And now your heart is completely healed. And that white light now moves towards your stomach, healing it. And your stomach is healed. And now that white light moves towards your liver and pancreas and every organ, the kidneys, everything is completely healed within your body. And as you move to the lower half, your hips are healed. Thank your hips. Your organs are healed. Move down towards the thighs. Thank your thighs for providing you, allowing you to walk, for allowing you to run. Thank your knees. Everything is healed now, and they're relaxed. Thank your knees for allowing your legs to bend. As the white light moves down, thank your calves. The calves are healed. As you move down, thank your ankles. They allow your feet to bend. And thank your feet because they allow you to stand and take the weight of the entire body. And stay in this state of gratefulness and wish that the world is peaceful. Thank the trees for giving you oxygen. Thank the beautiful mountains. Thank every single human being on this earth for making this earth a better place. May everybody succeed. May everybody be happy. May everybody be kind and loving, and the world is a much better place. And gradually enjoy that. Now, gradually bring your attention back to your breath. And as you come back, gradually move the toes of your feet and your fingers. When you're ready, start rubbing your fingers to generate a certain amount of heat. And when you can feel the sensation of warmth, take that heat of your palms and put it on your eyes and heal them. Rub your hands again, make it warm. When it's warm, take that warmth towards your ears, your face, your shoulders. Whenever you're ready, gradually open your eyes and come back.